We composers are a pretty bruised bunch. It's bad enough that we don't even have a good name for the type of music that we write. The best we can think of is the oxymoron contemporary classical. But on top of that, our choice of notation software has generally been substandard and expensive. And where other creative professions have industry standards such as Photoshop, AutoCAD, Unity, V-Ray, Sketch, Maya, Cinema 4D, Premiere, After Effects, Cubase, Pro Tools, etc., our industry standards are still Sibelius and Finale. And after I released my video about the design of Sibelius, I realised that I tapped into an almost unanimous frustration with the existing offerings. A shared pain felt across the world of modern composition. And I've been contacted multiple times by people who've said that they prefer to write scores by hand because the existing offerings are just too slow and frustrating. Wow, I don't know if I've ever heard an author say they prefer the efficiency of a pen. But the good news is that the field has opened up over the last few years, and with more competition comes cross-pollination and hopefully the incentive for everyone to do better, you would hope. But which application should we look at next? Well, to figure that out, I decided to put it to a YouTube poll, and man, was my expectation way off. MuseScore, by a country mile. Really? MuseScore? Well, it has a pretty strong following, especially among younger audiences, with over 60% of its users coming in under the age of 24. Them's some good demographics. And its feature set isn't quite as lightweight as its cost implies either. It's also accompanied by an impressive online score sharing application, and just looking through it, you can get the sense of a pretty thriving community. People can upload their scores, receive ratings, and as you're listening to other people's work, you can make comments like, "This caused me to fail No Nut November, what? Anyway, despite this impressive combination of offerings, it ain't perfect. And when looking at its design, three things immediately jumped out at me, and these will be the design focus for this video: the practical value of visual style, the importance of getting your navigation right early, and most importantly for a notation app, how the tiny details really matter. Now, through the course of this video, I'm going to be saying some mean things. I'm going to be saying some nice things. But most importantly, I'm going to be saying some mean things. Sorry, fair things. Yeah, I'm going to be fair. So, MuseScore is the brainchild of Werner Schwier, a German developer and music enthusiast who, up until 2002, had been working on an open source sequencing app called Muse, which looked like this. And if we look up here, we can see what I'm guessing is the lyre of the Muse terpsichore. Cute. My muse is Shostakovich. Look, here he is sitting beside my desk. Anyway, one day, as Werner was working, the lyre began to glow, and as he looked on, terpsichore appeared before him and spaketh thus:
Werner, do you not think that there already exists an overabundance of audio production apps? Is it not in fact the case that what this realm truly craves is a digital notation app free of nonsense? For Sibelius and Finale, once virtuous, have of late fallen under the malign influence of Mania and Oizys. And those who study the ancient art are in great pain.
Werner agreed that this was in fact the case, and asked what he could do to help.
Create an alternative for me, descendant of Pan, and make it free for the people. Do this, and I shall shower you with riches.
And so Werner became inspired and shed a single tear, and in that tear was the root directory within which MuseScore was born. And to join him, terpsichore sent two angels, Thomas Bonte and Nicolas Froment, with whom he founded a new company also named MuseScore. Werner would remain focused on the architecture and product roadmap, with Thomas taking the role of CEO and Nicolas organising the open source contributors. And now that I've mentioned open source, let's spend a couple of seconds discussing that. MuseScore is released for free under the second GNU General Public License, commonly called GPL2. This is interesting because GPL2 is viral, which means that all future versions and modifications licensed under it must remain that way forever. So, once GPL, always GPL. This is to prevent companies from creating proprietary applications out of open source projects, benefiting financially from the free work of others while closing off access to the source code. And due to this restriction, we can be certain of one thing: MuseScore will always be free and its project files will always be accessible to the public. And that's not to say it can't ever make money, it can. And that's why it was acquired by the Russian-based company Ultimate Guitar in February 2018. So, now its home is in Russia. Hold on a second. Hey, Shosti, MuseScore has moved to the mother country. What do you think of that?
I like it.
So, before we go any further discussing what all of this actually means for the app, let's open it up and see what the inspiration of terpsichore has wrought. Sorry, the skin doesn't seem to have loaded. How embarrassing. Let's just close that down and try it again. Okay, now, I'm being completely honest here. When I first loaded this app up, after hearing so much about it, my first reaction was, are you serious? This almost instantly communicated to me that MuseScore was an amateur passion project rather than a real app. And this is surprising because after spending quite a bit of time playing with it, I found that the way it's organized is actually really good. But we'll get to that later. As it stands, the app looks like a dog's dinner. Well, that's my opinion anyway. I mean, what do you think, Shosti? Oh! Oh! So that leads us to point number 1, the importance of visual design. Now, I sometimes find myself working on a project with developers who seem to think of visual design as a purely cosmetic layer that sits on top of functionality, a sort of beauty tax that holds up the pace of implementation. And don't get me wrong, I've met a lot of designers who seem to do visual design that way, but they shouldn't, because when not focused on sales, which I'll talk about in a second, visual design should always be in service of making the app easier to use. But before I demonstrate this, we should first look at MuseScore and ask, in what way is it ugly? Well, it's a lot of little things that all add up. The entirely grey background is an obvious first issue, and the use of colour is pretty ghastly. I mean, look at this font selection. I've never seen default red, black and turquoise combined like this before. These pressed buttons are a little nasty too, and those mixer controls look like a bad Flash game from the heyday of Newgrounds.com. And then there's the iconography, which is clumsy and inconsistent. This is actually probably a pretty good place to look at the functional importance of visual finesse. So iconography is the first cousin to typography, which is probably the most specialised of the graphic disciplines. And like a font, an icon set needs to be carefully considered so that it can be read easily. For example, if you've ever looked at a typeface closely, you'll notice a common baseline, like that seen here between the lowercase u and the lowercase I. And then there's 100 other little optimizations that you'll find, like in Helvetica, where the lowercase f and t line up like this. These kind of streamlined consistencies add up and help the reader to process sentences without getting a headache. Don't believe me? Then try reading a medium-length article in Papyrus and let me know how pleasant you thought the experience was. Seriously, why do people pick on Comic Sans so much when Papyrus is a thing that exists? But anyway, icon sets work in a similar way. You want to pay attention to the small details because it helps people navigate. Visual awkwardness requires the brain to have to spend extra time interpreting what it's looking at and can make for a frustrating experience, especially when working for long periods of time where you're constantly scanning left and right. Left and right. Where's that? Oh, there it is. And to give a zoomed in look at what I'm talking about, let's look at these 4 in particular: new, open, save and print. I'm going to quickly break these down in a way that some might think is a little excessive, but like I said earlier, these little things add up. So there are 2 garden variety types of icon sets, ones that are outlined and ones that are filled. And since the brain reads these in different ways, it's a good idea to choose either one or the other. Here there's no consistency, with 2 being outlined and 2 being filled, and they look like they've come from different places. This save icon looks like it came from the site Font Awesome. Let me just paste it in here to check. Yeah, pretty similar. The folder icon looks like it came from Font Awesome 2, only from a completely different set. Yeah, almost identical. If I dig around enough, I'll probably be able to figure out where the other 2 are from, but it doesn't matter. The problem here is that the inspiration is coming from completely different places and the result isn't very structured or unified. Let's see how these same icons are handled by the open source icon set Clarity. You can see here that they've matched up the baselines pretty nicely, although one is intersected halfway. This detail on the save icon is in line with the negative space on this print icon. This upper detail on open lines up with this little detail on print. They also have this sharp-edged detail here, and then here facing in a different direction, which helps give the set some character. It's pretty finessed, and since it's intended to be read at very small sizes, it doesn't do a bad job. A better and more legible set would be this one by Microsoft called Sego MDL2. The baselines don't intersect each other, these 2 details line up beautifully, and this detail in save and print line up too. Pretty balanced and legible. Altogether this would be much easier to read. And this is a set with hundreds of icons, all of them built in a way so that they can be easily read side by side, no matter what ordering. Now back to the MuseScore set. The top as well as the baselines are intersecting. You have negative space here, which is a different stroke height that doesn't line up properly, and this plus detail doesn't match the height of the details in any of the other icons. It's not the worst thing ever, it's just clumsy, amateurish, and a little unpleasant to have to look at for hours at a time. I wouldn't go as far as to say that these icons will make people's eyes hurt, because there's not that many of them, but over time, as the app becomes more complex and detailed, I'd hope that they begin to introduce some more consistency. Then there's colour. Colour is generally a good way of delineating between elements. For example, in MuseScore, navy blue is used to mean something is selected. However, it's very similar to the colour used for these engraving markups. It makes it a bit tough to tell if you've successfully selected something or not. And it confused me a little bit because there's another similar turquoise colour being used in the sidebar. Look, you can see that some text is turquoise and some is black. Maybe the turquoise colour represents values that are editable? No, because if I edit something, the colour changes to black instead. So, in this case, when it's this turquoise colour, it means it's not been touched yet? Have you confirmed that anyone understands this? Do I even understand it? I mean, look here, your tick box colour looks like this, but if I tick it, that colour goes away. And if I press this reset thing, the colour comes back. But hold on, I mean, if I click this note, all these values are black. I've never touched these before. What's going on exactly? And when I press these notes, yes, they look selected, but that dark grey, dark blue combo is, well, it's filthy. I mean, the icons look depressed. I almost want to unclick them as an act of kindness. And also, since you're trying to delineate stuff, there's a preponderance of icons and buttons here, which are slightly difficult to distinguish from each other. A bit of colour could potentially be useful here. And hold on, is that a tick box with a reset button beside it? So if I tick it, I can now have a second way to untick it? Is this really necessary? Now, as I mentioned earlier, the other requirement of visual design is that it can give an app an identity to help it stand out from the crowd, which in turn makes it easier to market. One core part of this branding is logo design. The MuseScore 2 logo was an eyesore, and it's been definitely improved with the MuseScore 3, but it still looks a little half-baked. I mean, look at the Dorico branding for comparison. It's not amazing, but it's nice. You got this little D with the inverted note thing, that's neat. With MuseScore, you have this fermata mark floating over the letter U. I mean, it's a bit lame, no? It might just be me. I'm trying to figure out if there's really something clever being implied here. But a fermata? The marking that means you should pause for an unspecified amount of time? Why that? I'm just imagining the designer thinking, that U looks a little bare. It needs something like... No, we can't use that. We need some sort of music-y type thing. So, yeah, that looks kinda cool. Job done. It's open source anyway, no one's expecting anything nice. Also, why is it an MU and not an MS? Muh. But even ignoring the But even ignoring the symbolism, is it? It seems a bit wonky to me. I don't know if you can see it right away, but everything's leaning over to one side slightly. It's annoying. Hold on, let me show you by grabbing the logo file. Thanks, open source. See the way the M is angling slightly over to the right, as if being blown by a breeze from the left? No? Okay, let me cut it out and invert it. Now if I add a grid so you can see the halfway point... Okay, it's pretty clear now. The U is swaying over to the left and the M to the right. Why? Well, I noticed on the MuseScore website that this logo was inspired by Helvetica Neue. Really? How? I'll investigate this. Let's just grab the lowercase m from Helvetica Neue and... already looking pretty similar. I have a feeling if I just isolate that curve on the underside of this lowercase m and thicken it up a bit and... Yep, I'm pretty sure I know how this logo was made. Right, so in Helvetica, the lowercase m leans over to the side to aid readability. It works with the rest of the set. This is a self-contained logo, so leaning serves no purpose, and it's not like this combination looks great either. So this is what we get, a bent out of shape M with the random fermata mark on it. It's just janky. This is the face of MuseScore. MuseScore has a janky face. So what would I do? Well, let's work on the assumption that I can't start again, so let me at least make a few tweaks. And looking at it, I immediately notice a lot of half circles. Let's start with that. I'll create a circle based on the size of the current version, I'll move it over here and extend it, then double it. Now I'll do the same for the U, which is a little wider, and now we can turn the base of the U into a fermata marking so that they both have matching curves. Fine, now if I pop that in a circle, let's compare. And you might want to pause here to fully appreciate the differences. Here's the original on the left, here's my version in the middle, with the variation on the right. Now obviously this is all subjective and you might think, I prefer the one on the left. And that's okay. It's okay to be wrong. Now, with MuseScore, the lack of visual design finesse is evident, but that's not the case with the design of its architecture and navigation. In this area, I think it really shines. In my Sibelius video, I spent quite a bit of time pointing out how completely unintuitive many of the functionalities were, because they were hidden in places you'd never expect to find them. And the problem with this is that if you're in the middle of writing some music, especially when you're in the zone, so to speak, it's immensely frustrating when you have to halt what you're doing in order to search around to find something you know you've used before. Even worse if you need to down tools to go on a Google hunt. Complex systems, when designed well, allow users to form strong mental models that help them to find things easily, and where possible, they should try to incorporate mental models that are widely used elsewhere. A simple example of a common mental model would be the layout of a pop-up. Here's one. So, tell me, how do you close it? See, we don't need to think twice. It's a completely established mental model. You go midway up the left-hand side, click on the double arrow, and slide down the pop-up switch. And when you think about it like this, where do I go to get something? That's when you can see the problems with the Sibelius model. It's hard to conceptualize. If you want to add a marking that you don't use very often, where do you go? It could be in here. It could be in this big list. It could be here in the text category under styles. It could be in this widget. It could be buried under one of the two different right-click menus, or it could have a unique place on the ribbon, like the guitar diagram seen here, or brackets in a different category here. MuseScore beats this hands down. The model is so simple I can describe it in a few words. If you want to write notes, they're up here. If you want to add any other type of marking, they'll be here in the left panel. And if you want to move or alter something that's already in your score, the options will be here in the right panel. That's it. You now understand the layout of MuseScore. So let's say I'm looking for guitar diagrams. Because I have a strong mental model of the layout, I know with a high degree of certainty where I'll find it. And when I drag it into the score, I've a pretty good idea that the options are going to appear here. This is the kind of intuitiveness that all complicated apps should strive towards. It's actually quite reminiscent of the layout of a program called Sketch, which is also really easy to learn. What's more, and this is something I really like, you can move these panels around in whatever order you want. You can make them wider, and if you don't like clutter, you can remove any options you don't need. But in saying that, there's still quite a bit of clumsiness strewn around here and there that needs cleaning up. Here's a quick list I've put together. Okay, are you ready for the pain? Right, first off, you see all these things? These blue UI elements, frames, and hidden objects? Sometimes I want to temporarily switch them off so I can see how the score is going to look when printed. To do this, I need to untick these different options here, but each time I untick one of them, the menu closes, so I have to navigate back up and open it back up in order to untick the next option, and it closes again. Okay, I'm done now, I can see it, I'm happy, and now I want to turn them all back on, so I have to take 4 more trips back to the view menu again. Will you just leave it open? Let me tick and untick what I want, and I'll close it when I'm done. Better yet, look how empty the right-hand panel is when nothing is selected. I mean, look at it now. It's the nothing is selected panel. I think we can get a bit more imaginative than that. Perhaps when nothing is selected, it could show useful things like, well, that's an idea. In fact, there are tons of things you could potentially put in here that are currently buried in the top menu. I also notice an option called Documents Side by Side. Oh, maybe this is what I need. A kind of print preview? Oh no. No, it's just the same thing twice. Okay, well, I don't want that. I mean, no one in history has ever wanted that, so let's just close it. Oh, it's asking me to save another copy. Nah, why would I want... Oh, I've just deleted my entire project without saving. Remind me why I have an option to see the same document twice. Is it because you forgot to disable it when there's only one document open? I think it is. Incidentally, if you have your part scores open, this is actually a pretty cool feature. Now this next one is insane. So, a very common thing in score writing is to want to change an instrument midway through the piece. How do we do this? My first expectation is to click on the bar in question and then go to where I remember the instruments option being. No instrument change option up here. That's okay though. Let's look around in the side panel. Not there either. Okay, so now I'm going to look more carefully through the left panel, and sure enough, good old left panel has what I need. I love you, left panel. And now, okay, hold on. It's just text with no options. Bad left panel. Okay, I don't know what to do now. Time to consult Google. How to change an instrument in MuseScore. Oh, a video. Yeah, come on. Yeah, Who are you advertising to? I have the app already.
Hello and welcome to another Quick Tips video. Sometimes you might decide to change an instrument when you're writing a score. Take this bass guitar part for instance.
Okay, let's just skip the video. I'll summarize. So I need to go to staff properties by right-clicking. Yeah, well, I guess the app is full. There's nowhere else this option could possibly go. So I go to the staff properties and then hit another button. Voila! Okay, now to change the instrument to a viola and, oh, you're kidding me. It's actually replaced the violin across the entire score. So hold on, how on earth do I change an instrument midway through the score? Right, time for some precision Googling. How do I change to a new instrument midway through the piece in MuseScore? I'm not holding out much hope for this. Okay, mid-staff changes, here we go. Okay, wow, do I really need all of this? Okay, scroll down. Here we go. Hold on, are you serious? I have to right-click on that text to change the instrument? I have to right-click on this? And it's like the only unique option here too. Yeah, because there's nowhere else this could possibly go. So I changed the instrument and did it do it? Oh man, it didn't even alter the text for me or change the clef. So I have to do all that manually. What do you have against changing instruments? So yeah, as I subtly alluded to a few seconds ago, put it there. You let me change note heads and text values in this panel, and that's great. Do it for everything. Now we need to talk about part scores. This took me ages to figure out. You'll find it under File, secreted away below the Close option. Not the most easy thing to find, but that's not the worst sin ever. Okay, let's open it. What on earth am I looking at? Select part, but there are no parts there. Okay, edit part. Violin? Alright, nothing's happening. I think I'll press enter. Oh, that just closed it. Okay, let's open it back up again. So, instruments in score. That looks promising, but the plus doesn't do anything. Do I drag it here? No. Okay, so as a last resort, let's press this button. New all. Oh, that's done something. Okay, I think that did it. Hurrah! What do you mean new all? What sort of copywriting is that? It feels like the person responsible was in the middle of trying to get the phrasing right and then just had a stroke. Dear Werner, I considered our recent design issues with the parts dialogue, and I feel I have a solution. It's a button titled New All. I feel this is far superior to any visible options that might populate our right panel. Its value is in its simplicity, combining as it does the essence of user desire, both the new and the all. Dear Nicola, I am delighted by this suggestion and I propose we make it into our company mantra. New all. I feel it speaks to our newness, to say nothing of our allness, and I'd like to celebrate by getting some new all stationery, and let's get some new all t-shirts printed too so I can shove a new all spike straight through my face. No. I don't want to go back to that place. No, it's fading. Okay, we're okay. Save it for the finale video. I'm alright. Okay, please don't do that again to me, MuseScore. So let's talk about something else. In the world of design, we have a term called the out-of-box experience, which refers to designs specifically aimed at helping new users understand how things work as quickly as possible. You see this on mobile apps all the time. Click here to get started. If you want to do this, then press this, etc. Impressively for the MuseScore team, they've just introduced their own version called Tours, little pop-ups that appear at various points to explain where things are and how they work. But again, I just get the sense that although they've built the right thing, they're using it in slightly the wrong way. So after launching the app, if you try to grab something from the left panel, a pop-up appears that gives a general breakdown of what the entire panel is for. That's nice, but it's not what I'm planning to do right now. Right now I want to play around and find stuff. And these options don't really permit me to learn that way. I can either give up what I was trying to do and press next, which takes me through a series of various descriptions, or I can close it, kind of holding me hostage here. I like the idea of these descriptions, I just don't want them right at this moment. I find that this keeps happening as I'm working. It's not that the instructions are bad, it's just that they tend to come when I don't want them. When someone clicks on a thing, they probably have a very specific intent, and triggering a pop-up right at that moment is probably going to be an obstruction. So there are a few ways of improving this. One is to provide a message that works with the likely intent and which doesn't prevent you from accomplishing it. Oh, you've clicked on a marking? You can drag it here and add it to your score. Oh, you've selected an item in the score? You can edit it over here. Another way is to devise a method of letting the user decide when explanations should happen. Imagine, for example, that there was a button specifically for this. Let's call it Knowledge, accompanied by, the MuseScore icon. Maybe we can augment that a little. It does look a bit like an eye, so let's make it an eye. Ah, it's the all-seeing eye of terpsichore. So you click on something, the eye opens creepily to indicate that it's active. Then when you click on it, it tells you, yeah, this is a quarter note, the quarter note, blah, 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 blah. And that way you get the information you want when you want it, not forced on you. And as you move through the score, the eye can follow you around, wincing each time you specify Times New Roman as the font, rolling its eyes when you use more than 3 forte marks, and a unique function where, if you enter the name Einaudi in the composer field, it gets glaucoma, shrivels up and never opens again. I'm really liking this eye button. I'm offering it up as a design that anyone can use. You know, you can have it in other apps too, like Sibelius, where if you click on it, it takes you to the Dorico download page. Your time will come, Dorico. Laugh while you can. And that brings me to the final part of this video, the importance of tiny details. And from here on, I'm going to do something unusual. I'm going to be praising Sibelius, because despite its many problems, its notation functionality, the thing that made it famous, is still really good. You'll see what I mean in a moment. But for context, it's important to remind ourselves when making this comparison that MuseScore has a very different development setup. The current team is tiny. They don't employ any professional designers right now, and they don't have the capacity to perform controlled user testing. Instead, their feedback comes from a community who make feature requests, and they rely solely on open source contributions and the design savvy of their existing team to achieve them. And although feedback and user requests are essential to knowing what to work on, solid designers are often need to figure out how to provide them without massively overcomplicating the app. So, although the MuseScore team have done remarkably well up to this point, I think they could now do with some dedicated full-time designers to work through the sorts of finesse I'm about to describe. And he'd hope that under the ownership of Ultimate Guitar, that's now on the cards. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Because as it stands, there are hundreds of carefully considered little efficiencies that Sibelius has which MuseScore doesn't, and these add up. Let me show you what I'm talking about. First off, let's start with something tiny to show why it's really useful. Say I want to draw a slur over these notes here. By default with both apps, I can press the shortcut S. There we go. Now using another shortcut, I can quickly extend it like this. Great. Now, say I later come back and decide that I want to change the phrasing, so the slur mark covers only the first 2 notes. Well, in MuseScore, there's a shortcut to bring the slur backwards, but it's actually faster to just delete it and start again. Sibelius is even faster than this, because when I delete a slur, it automatically reselects the note the slur began on, so I can add a new one immediately. To see how much time this saves, I compared how long it took me to correct the phrasing of a 2-bar piece of music in both apps. In MuseScore, after trying twice, I managed to do it in 1 minute and 29 seconds. In Sibelius, I managed it in 1 minute and 8 seconds. That's a difference of 21 seconds, which might seem trivial, but we're only talking about 4 instruments and 2 bars. If you make that 16 instruments, the difference is 1 minute and 20 seconds. With 200 bars, now we're talking 2 hours and 20 minutes of time purely spent moving your mouse to click on a note. Sibelius does this for loads of things, performance directions, dynamics, lines, etc. MuseScore doesn't do it at all, and when writing music, you can really feel the difference. Here's another one. In Sibelius, I can copy dynamics and hairpins at the same time, and then paste them immediately onto another instrument, like this. MuseScore doesn't do this. I can copy and paste each dynamic marking, but I need to create the hairpin each time. Also in Sibelius, I can grab these 3 dynamics along with the edge of the hairpin and drag them all to a new note. In MuseScore, this is really painful. Again, this has to be done one by one. The time difference in this example is much worse, and this is partially to do with the convention in MuseScore that you need to double click on things in order to enter into an editing mode. Seems like a good idea, it might be neat, but it's also slow. How can I edit multiple hairpins if I have to double click on one to enter into a special mode? What about copying and pasting? Well, in Sibelius, if I copy these bars and paste them into a cello part, it also replaces the dynamics as well as the phrasing. In MuseScore, if I do this, it keeps the original phrasing and dynamics too, which has now resulted in this mess. Great, now I have to go and delete everything. What about spacing? Well, in Sibelius, I can click and drag on most elements to move them. Here I'm just making a few improvements to make the score look nicer. In MuseScore, in order to do similar improvements, I need to enter values in this sidebar. That's fine, although the objects aren't tied together. Look, the bar line is messed up now. I have to select every bit of every bar first. Again, really time consuming. I'm beginning to understand the use of this fermata mark now. MuseScore, prepare to pause for an unspecified amount of time. On the plus side, I can double click on this note to do this. That's fun. In MuseScore, if I select a note, I can change the duration. That's good. But if I want to change the duration of multiple notes at once, no such luck. I can do that in Sibelius. Another thing I can do is just hit one of these note values to immediately write in the score. With MuseScore, I have to remember to turn on the note input function. Why? What's the point of having a scenario where this button does nothing? Then there's playback. One thing I make use of a lot is the ability to isolate instruments so I can hear exactly what they're doing. It's one of the great benefits of music software, but for some reason I can't do this quickly, say by highlighting the instrument in question and pressing play like I can with Sibelius. I have to instead bring up the mixer, turn on the solo button, listen to it, then come back to the mixer again and go back to normal. It's beyond irritating to have to keep navigating away from the score like this. And now to my least favourite omission of all. If I'm writing for piano, I rely on being able to press the left or right arrow keys to shift between chords, like this. In MuseScore, however, you can't hear the full chord, only the top note. This means that, unless I have a piano to hand, and I often don't because I write a lot while travelling, composing in MuseScore is pretty much out of the question because the playback is just too slow. Or at least it seemed that way, because there's been an interesting development. You see, I've been talking quite a bit to the people at MuseScore while researching this video, mainly to help me get a sense of their history and current setup. And along the way, I mentioned this last problem, and asked whether there was a setting I could use to correct it. And in response, a few days later I got an email letting me know that this had been added to their backlog. Then a few days after that, it was implemented. Here's an example of a video taken by the developer who worked on it. So you can expect to see this improvement over the next few weeks, or it might even be out before this video is published. I guess this is a good segue into my final thoughts about the app. I don't know if it comes across here, but I like MuseScore. It's far beyond what I was expecting, and its rate of improvement is pretty impressive. On the visual side, I don't really think this is a cause for much worry, since the fundamental navigation is excellent and it seems to be headed in the right direction. Although I think it could stand to look a bit nicer, this isn't too hard to achieve, just a good reskin. Pretty painless compared to the overhaul I think Sibelius needs for its entire navigation. As for the rate of improvement, updates happen all the time and they're effortless to install. They also listen a lot. So if you've agreed with anything I've mentioned or if you've ideas of your own, make sure to say so in the comments. They'll be reading and taking notes. Regarding notation and engraving, this is where MuseScore have their work cut out for them. Having worked on large-scale creation apps myself, I know how awkward it is to try and satisfy multiple different types of user with just one interface. I've made a few suggestions for improvements here, but there'll be thousands more from other musicians and many of them will undoubtedly contradict each other. Charting a course through all of this that satisfies the most amount of people will be very difficult. Sibelius seems like a good choice if you're a professional, but it's a nightmare to learn and can often be maddening to use. Getting really good at it takes months, but when you do get good, it's pretty fast and as I've shown, contains lovely attention to detail. MuseScore almost feels like it has the opposite problem. It's very easy to pick up, which makes it great for beginners or people who want to blast out a score every once in a while, but it doesn't yet have the notation or engraving finesse that I think would suck in professional users en masse. But that could change quickly. They have a strong and seemingly loyal user base, a great score sharing community, the ability to push out updates quickly, the backing of a large company, and consistent leadership. And they've also got Terpsichore and Shostakovich on their side. Any final thoughts, Shosti? I like the music.
If you like my diatribe, subscribe.